Guys, I'm back today talking about Blaire White again. You guys may have seen she made a video about me last week called, Ethan thinks he's smarter than Jordan Peterson and healthier than Joe Rogan, in which I watched the whole video and reacted to it. Obviously, she made a lot of horrible points that I think I did a pretty good job of thwarting, let's say, debunking. But there's one specific thing that I think Blaire White is ignoring and trying to pretend like it didn't happen. And I think that she is under an obligation to correct the record. And she's doing her absolute best to avoid addressing this. Now, she's just gone on like business as usual. She uploaded a video. Let's see. I was wondering if she would say something because I specifically was like, yo, you need to address this. This is a debate. She started with me and I'm ready to have this conversation, but she's dodging. She uploaded a video yesterday called Reacting to Dr. Phil's Crazy Trans Debate with Matt Walsh. And of course, here, let me move this so you guys can see. Of course, like I said, her bread and butter is being the good trans. So she's siding with someone like Matt Walsh, who is actually just, by the way, I haven't watched this video, so I'm just assuming she's siding with Matt Walsh because why wouldn't she? Matt Walsh is one of the most toxic, he's one of the worst people on the internet. I mean, this is a guy who works for the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire, and he said such spicy things as the Spanish Inquisition was more justified than woke culture. He believes that trans people being trans is a mental illness. He doesn't respect pronouns. He is just a reactionary Christian supremacist, basically. One of the worst people you can imagine on the internet. I'll watch a little bit of this, but my point is, and of course, she's just, again, with the pick-me attitude, like I'm one of the good ones, siding with people that think that she's just mentally ill and shouldn't even exist. I guess the grift goes deep. You know what I mean? She's going to grift herself out of existence at this rate. All the money in the world is not going to make a difference, Blaire. When the people that you're cozying up to believe that they will never accept you until you tell them I'm a man and I'm going back to being a man, But that's not why I'm making this video. There's one specific point I brought up that I really think she needs to address. Here, I'll just refresh everyone's memory. She said that this dude went to jail for misgendering his daughter, which is 100% fake propaganda headline, anti-trans propaganda headline. Here, I'll play it for you. Pathetic.
People have been put in jail for misgendering in Canada. You have here a Canadian man jailed for calling his biologically female child as daughter. And is that something that's widespread?
Okay, we got to fact check that. Okay, surprise, surprise. Blaire White is doing conservative propaganda. She's a liar. I found the article. She's just a liar. Okay, that article is just so pathetically misleading. The father was thrown in jail for repeatedly violating a court's order. A ABC father who objected to his teens. Yes. So basically, he wasn't thrown in jail for misgendering his daughter. He was thrown in jail for violating a court order and going and doing YouTube interviews that put the identity of the child, the mother, the doctors at risk in violation of the court's specific instructions to not talk about it. And that's why he was charged. Now, Blaire has misrepresented this to the point of it's beyond belief. I don't understand you, Blaire. Why are you actively promoting a transphobic propaganda? It's just so odd to me. It's just so odd. But anyway, I do think she has an obligation to make a correction here, either in a new video or a pinned comment or a tweet, because who would want to be comfortable putting that out there? especially as a trans person. Well, whatever. I don't want to gatekeep what it means to be trans and whatever, but like, this is wrong. This is wrong information, and shame on you for keeping this up. I mean, we need a statement, don't you guys think? I refuse to believe that she should just be able to go on business as usual after getting something so dangerous and harmfully wrong. But I am curious to see now what's her new video after this whole escapade with me. I even tweeted at her, by the way. I was curious if she would respond before I planned on making this video. I'd give her a chance to respond. She didn't. I just said, Blaire, I added her directly. So are you going to upload like usual and not correct the record that the article you cited in your video is 100% fake headline anti-trans propaganda? She hasn't responded. I mean, she must have seen it, right? She follows me. She's been tweeting since then. She's been liking. Well, she didn't like any tweets recently, but she's tweeted since then. So I gave her a chance, to correct the record. I would like to see a correction here because I think it's very irresponsible to leave that kind of information up. That being said, let's take a look at this new video. Let's see what kind of nuanced anti-trans issues she's going to side with Matt Walsh. Let's take a look here. So let's have a look. Let me skip all this bull crap. Blah, blah, blah. She's promoting herself. Okay, here we go.
When they're by themselves.
This is a hot topic.
Yes.
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why is it a good thing?
I guess because it creates dialogue and it invites conversation to learn about other people.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are really confused about gender identity in these times, and it's good for us to have these conversations so people open their minds and relearn and unlearn to what we've been taught.
Right.
So this is always a disturbing talking point. It's a very common talking point from these activist types, which is that people need to unlearn things, right? They need to relearn, unlearn. Like whenever these people from their high horse talk about how, the little plebeians need to unlearn things and come around to my ideology.
How is activating for trans awareness on the high horse? Well, first of all, she's right. The activists, they're right. I don't know what her pronoun is, but they're right. In that, like, I had to relearn and unlearn things at a certain point in my life because, let's face it, the trans issue it's new and it's kind of it requires your mind to kind of relearn and unlearn what the genders are, what the sex and gender are two different things. It took me some time to grasp what that meant. So I don't see how that's preachy or high horsey at all.
It's just very off-putting to me.
It's not at all.
And Addison, many people think gender pronouns are exclusive to the LGBTQ plus community, but that's a misconception, true?
Yeah. Well, everybody has pronouns. Like, you may use he and him as your pronouns, right? I use they and them.
So everybody has pronouns, right? Stupid. What a dumb question. So what would you call me? Am I a they or a he? You're actually a potato head, Dr. Phil. You are. That would make him a they, or make him a potato. I don't know what potato pronouns are.
As my pronouns.
So Addison has a point here. And by the way, throughout this video, I mean, I'm sure you guys can guess which side I agree more with, just because if you know me, you know. But I'm going to be giving kudos where they're deserved from both parties. I'm going to be as objective as I can here. And Addison does have a point that many people who sort of go to battle with these trans activists and the extremely woke people tend to make the talking point that I don't even have pronouns. I don't have pronouns.
Dude, that's like, how are you giving this is no place to give kudos. Everybody has pronouns. That's obvious. Like, don't you learn that in first grade? He, she. I mean, come on, dude. What kind of kudos is this?
It's like everyone actually does have pronouns. And what doesn't occur to Addison's tribe is that most people find it highly obnoxious when you wear your pronouns on your sleeve like it's some sort of accomplishment or badge of honor, or when you write it on your face. It also gets tiring being forced to accept the invention of new...
I think they are just trying to promote the idea and bring awareness to the fact that there are more than the he, she, binary pronoun system. So why is that obnoxious? I just don't know why you hate trans people so much.
new pronouns on a weekly basis, especially when they're pronouns that are insane, like the ones I talked about: doll self, vampire self, bug self. Some people want you to call them it.
Okay, so she's conflating like someone wanting to identify as a vampire with somebody who's trans and wants to be called they. Like, I'm sorry, but that just seems disingenuous.
I'm never calling a person it. I would be more likely to call someone a bug than it. And that's saying
Okay,
something.
well, show me as someone who's asking you to call them a bug or it, and then we can have this conversation. But right now, nobody's asking to do that. So you're delegitimizing her movement with this hypothetical argument that nobody's even making.
Because I would never call someone a bug. So I think what Addison doesn't get is that it's very frustrating for people to see this, know that it's insane, but have this immense social pressure to accept it, or else they're outcast from society. They're going to lose their job. They're going to be criticized, have extreme backlash towards them, be called a bigot. And speaking for myself and a lot of other transsexuals, it's quite offensive to conflate the desire to be called a bug with the desire to just...
Yeah, nobody's saying that, though. Like, what kind of... This is the straw man of all straw man.
Let's just skip ahead to when the opposing side, Matt Walsh, comes in, because that's the good stuff. That's what you're here for.
So you can feel however you want. I mean, I could sit here and say that I feel like a tomato plant, but that doesn't mean that I actually am those things. So your self-perception, you can have whatever self-perception you want, but you can't expect me to take part in that self-perception or to take part in this kind of charade, this theatrical production.
So Matt is right in the sense that the expectation for your self-perception to be paralleled and mirrored.
Matt is setting up a straw man similar to what Blaire did in the beginning. Nobody's asking you to identify them as a tomato plant, right? This is a trans person that wants to be identified as he or they, and just to be respectful, basically. That's all people are asking you to do. I don't understand why that's so offensive or difficult.
By other people and the way they perceive you is just unreasonable. You can't expect that ever in life. Whether it's maybe you think you're an amazing baseball player, but someone else thinks you absolutely suck. Maybe you think you're highly attractive, but this person you want to date does not think you're attractive. So it can be true of more shallow things like that, or it can be more true of these deeper senses of self that you have, like about your gender. Just because you see yourself as a certain gender does not mean everyone else is going to.
That's true, but like, I don't think it's wrong to expect a certain amount of decency from, you know, being trans. Carries some of the highest risks for unaliving yourself, living with depression and anxiety and horrible things. And if you can help them by being considerate and addressing them by what especially their presenting pronoun is, I don't see why people need to be such dicks about it. And I don't think excusing people like Matt Walsh, who intentionally misgender people, is it. Bye.
And that's just the reality of life. It seems like a very unhealthy mentality to go around expecting that. It seems like a very self-defeating mentality.
Are they? I'm pretty sure they are just trying to raise awareness, which you had a problem with too, apparently. Apparently, trans people aren't allowed to talk at all about their identity struggles.
You don't get your own pronouns, just like you don't get your own prepositions or your own adjectives. You know, it's like if I were to tell you, my adjectives are handsome and brilliant, and no matter what.
No, it's not like that at all. Nobody's asking to be identified as handsome and brilliant. Those are, by the way, adjectives. They're just asking. Also, especially Ethan, like he's man-facing. Just call him him. You know. He's not asking you to call him handsome. That's just such a dumb argument.
Whenever you're talking about me, you have to describe me as handsome and brilliant, because that's how
Nobody does that, though. Nobody is asking anyone to do that.
I identify. Makes no sense. You don't get your own pronouns. That's grammar. That's language.
Okay, so the thing about pronouns is they are based on a subconscious snap, registry, and judgment of secondary sex characteristics that most people don't even consciously think of. It is simply, you see someone and your brain tells you, this is a man, this is a woman, and you just say he or she. You don't think about it. So that's
true. That's why sometimes, like when I'm referring to the person there, I forget their name, that I'll say she instead of they. It's just, I am still educating myself, and I'm still like, it's difficult for me sometimes to get the they pronoun right. So that's true. And I mean no offense when I do that. It's something that I'm actively kind of trying to retrain myself to get right.
The idea that it's some long thought out process, like what am I going to call this person? Am I going to be mean to them or am I not going to be mean to them?
So she's right, and it's obvious when someone has just made a genuine mistake, but they're trying to do better, or when they're being purposely offensive. Okay.
That is not how 99.9% of human interactions work. That's why in most situations, if you are misgendered, regardless if you're trans or not, it's not productive to sit there and really take it to heart and take it as, oh,
Sometimes it's meant to be offensive and sometimes it's innocent. And it's really obvious to tell which is which. Not rocket science.
this person's trying to offend me, because most of the time that's really not the case. Pronouns almost always are.
Matt Walsh is intentionally being offensive. There's no debating that. He literally told a trans person, well, if I have to call you he, then you have to call me handsome. Like, sorry, but that's just offensive. Closed-minded, obviously missing the point.
Not expect people to just blindly fall in line. That's just not how people speak. It's not what people are familiar with. And you can fight to make people more familiar with it, but I'd be willing to bet that even people who are familiar with it.
She just said you can fight to make people more familiar with it, but earlier in the video, she said it's narcissism that these people are trying to educate people.
Are not going to suddenly start talking like that. Like, I just don't see it happening. It's kind of like Fetch in Mean Girls. Like, they're trying so hard to make it a thing. It's just not a thing.
It will become a thing. You know, people used to call black people the N-word. It was just straight up. We don't do that anymore. We're capable of changing language, Blaire, and it's definitely a worthwhile cause.
That's a question I would like to throw out to other members of the panel, actually, because just like the 4-year-old can't answer what is a girl. Well, this is one of the problems with this left-wing gender ideology, is that no one who espouses it can even tell you what these words mean. Like, what is a woman?
Well,
can you tell me what a woman is?
No, I can't.
If you can't define what a woman is, why are you trying so hard to redefine it?
Because it's not for me to say. Womanhood looks different for everybody.
What do you define a woman as?
An adult human female.
And what does a female mean?
Well,
how
that's
do you define a female?
someone with female reproductive organs.
Okay.
Someone who's,
That's sex. That's not gender, right?
Here's the thing. When you're female, it goes right down to your bones, your DNA. So that's why if someone dies, we could dig up their bones 100 years from now. We have no idea what they believed in their head, but we can tell what sex they.
Yeah, exactly. They agree. That's sex. They literally defined that at the beginning.
Were, because it's ingrained in every fiber of their being.
Interesting.
This is correct. In 100 years, if they dug up my body for whatever reason and ran tests or whatever the hell they do.
Yeah, because we're talking about biological sex and gender, which is mental. They literally said, sex is what you're born with and gender is between your ears. You cannot make up your mind. This video is a nonstop contradiction. You agree with, you disagree with.
They would absolutely see that I was a biological male in my life. And this piece of information is entirely irrelevant to me or the quality of life that I'm living. And it's so cringe that this discourse has devolved into what is a woman? What is a woman? When every person in that room knows exactly what a woman is. It's just one side pretending not to.
No. I think that, being a woman, you're talking about the gender identity can mean a lot of different things. It's like, I think they're like, well, it's not my identity to define. They're being very conscious of what they say. But, being a woman is some kind of feminine energy, but that's so like nebulous, right? It really could mean a lot of different things. There's a lot of different attributes that make up a feminine energy. So I don't think it's disingenuous. I think that Matt Walsh and you want to engage in really simplistic binary debates that make it hard to have nuanced conversations about it.
The same way we observe what is a female, what is a male in every other species of animals on the planet is the same way we observe it with each other.
So I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, okay.
Definition is that a woman is someone who is female, you said, right?
Correct. Is a biological female.
It's not his definition.
Dude, let them at least answer. Like, again, it's incredible that Blaire keeps siding with Matt Walsh here. Blaire establishes a difference between sex and gender. Let's hear hear them out.
The definition. It's just like, it's not your truth, it's the truth. And you can have a slant on the truth based on your own biases, but there's the truth and there's
Sex
the
and
definition.
gender, Blaire. You
So
know that.
what happens if we have maybe someone who is female, identifies as a woman, right? You know, cisgender woman, right? As you just explained, maybe doesn't have the ability to reproduce. Maybe doesn't have those organs that you're talking about that are reproductive organs.
She's still a woman. This is the lamest talking point. And I remember making this when I was like 20. Like, I remember at the like very start of my transition, I was never, ever as like fully woke as so many of these activists, right? But the little bit of like I did dip into like the annoying talking points, I would say things like, well, I know a woman who doesn't have a uterus, and it's like, cool, she's still a woman. Like, I don't know what I thought I was doing making that point.
No, but it is interesting because it's like, if you don't have the organs, right? So what makes someone biologically woman? Let's say you remove all of the organs and all of that stuff that like biologically identifies you. So what makes you a woman then? Like, that's a genuinely good question, right? Is it like the bone structure? Well, some women are bigger, right, some women are much bigger than other men in terms of bone structure. Is it the hormones? Well, that's interesting because you can get hormone replacement therapy. So if that's all it is, then you can transition, right? What is it, you know? This is interesting. This is actually an interesting conversation.
But it's just embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing.
It's just like a man who gets his junk blown off in war is still a man. Like, since these people can't say it, let's just, this is how easy it is. A woman is an adult biological female. A trans woman is the adult biological male who presents as a woman visually. This is not a difficult concept. And this is a concept that we had figured out quite a while ago before these types of people came in and tried to switch everything up. People understood. You know what I mean? There's a reason why the word trans is in front of woman, because it indicates it is something different. Would I ever be technical and annoying in a real life scenario and call myself a trans woman and just have to be so technically correct that I would never say the word woman? No, in my real life, my family, my friends call me a woman because that's the way they see me. You know what I mean?
No, because that's the way you want them to refer to you as your pronouns. It's not because you are so successfully transitioned that nobody could ever see you as a man. I guarantee you Joe Walsh will call you a man to your face and say, I don't care how successfully you've transitioned. The people in your life that are calling you that are doing it because that's your chosen pronouns and they're being respectful to you.
But the reality is I'm a trans woman. I was not born a woman. I was not born a girl to age into being a woman. There are so many aspects of womanhood that I cannot relate to. Are there parallels? Yes. If I'm sitting with my female friends, is it like I'm just so removed from their experience walking through the world as a woman that I can't relate to them? Of course not. There's plenty I relate to, especially for the fact that I did transition, and to a large extent, I've been able to integrate into society and be treated as such. So I would relate to a woman much more than I would relate to a man. When I'm hanging out with my friends who are men, there are certain things that I don't relate to, I don't understand, I don't have in common with them because I don't live my life like that. This in no way makes me a biological female. I will never be that. And that is okay. I don't understand why this is like distressing information.
It's not. You can't just engage with actual arguments. In fact, you can't even hear them out. They established from the very beginning there's a difference between biology and biological sex and gender.
For other trans people. And also, I don't understand why it's not distressing to me. Maybe it should be distressing to me, but it's not. We are not the same. Even if we can draw parallels, which we can, we are not the same. I will never understand menstruating, giving birth, being pregnant, being raised as a girl. None of that I have any knowledge or, well, I won't say any knowledge. I understand it from like a technical standpoint, but I will never have any experience in that. And that's okay. I'm okay with that.
I have answered the question. You stood up here and said trans women are women.
Yes.
Tell me what you mean. What is a woman?
Womanhood is something that, just as Ethan explained, I cannot define because I am not
But
myself.
you used the word. So what did you mean when you said trans women are women if you don't know what it means?
Right?
You do not have to be a woman to define what a woman is.
Again, Blaire goes, it's not that complicated, but they end up just arguing about like the difference between sex and gender and pretending not to know what the difference is. Being a trans woman is being a woman in that you identify as a woman. Like, they're not saying that they're born it's so stupid.
You don't have to be a cat to define what a cat is. I don't have to be this iPhone to define what my iPhone is. There is no reconciliation to be had between the Addisons of the world and the Matt Walshes of the world. Like, they are on two different planets and there are no shuttles going back and forth. There is a middle ground that exists here, but it seems like no one's willing to get there. And it's crazy because discourse like this exists on just such a different plane than anything relatable to my experience or like my life as a trans woman. Like, it's all.
Yeah, I mean, the insidious thing she's doing is making it seem like these two arguments are equal. When you take someone like Matt Walsh, who believes that, you know, being trans is just a mental illness that's being foisted on people because it's fashionable, and that, you know, he would never accept Blaire until she just went back to being a man. And Madison, who's literally just trying to explain the difference between sex and biology to this guy. These are not equal footings. Matt Walsh is clearly the bad actor here.
Just stupid, isn't it? Clown world, what can you say? Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel as well as my...
Yeah, there you go. So I don't know what I learned from that necessarily, other than that Blaire is committed to misrepresenting the trans movement for the sake of trying to fit in the conservative world. People that clearly have disdain for her and who she is. It's very interesting, but I guess the grift goes deep. Regardless, the point of this was to ask Blaire to make a statement or correction on that clearly misleading and wrong information she shared in the previous video. That's it. Guys, still on baby watch. Yesterday was Hila's due date. We are waiting. I'm expecting something to happen here soon. We'll let you know. This is Ethan signing out.
Wow, Ethan, great moves. Keep it up.